Wow. Okay, now we've got just about all the vote in from. Okay,
that's it.
Gwinnett County. Nearly 1 million people live here. Warnock has improved by more than 3 points from November. What does this look like statewide? Well, I'll let you take it from there because I think there's some news there.
That check mark is a consequential thing. NBC News can now project that the winner of the Georgia U.S. Senate election tonight is incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock. You saw the math happen effectively live on your screen there. We see a difference here of just 26,000 votes between these two gentlemen with 94% of the vote in. We had previously characterized Senator Warnock as being in the lead. NBC News, again, now projects that the winner of this U.S. Senate race is the incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock. Now, we saw, as these results came in around the state, we saw Mr. Walker do marginally better, particularly in small, rural, lightly populated, heavily Republican counties. That was not enough to make up for the improvement in standing that we saw from Senator Warnock in heavily Democratic areas. In larger, more populated Republican-leaning counties, Senator Warnock, we saw him cut into the kind of lead that Mr. Walker might otherwise have had. But the final result is now known. The U.S. Senate seat in Georgia will be held by Raphael Warnock. Voters in Georgia, for the 4th time in 2 years, choose Raphael Warnock as their senator for this seat. When Republican Senator Johnny Isakson retired, Senator Warnock, now Senator Warnock, ran for his seat, made it to the runoff, ran in the runoff, got the seat. That earned him 2 years. Then he decided to run for re-election, got to the runoff. Tonight is the runoff, and he is re-elected to the United States Senate. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this is the first African-American man ever elected to a full term in the United States Senate from the great state of Georgia. Major moment.
Yeah. Wow.
That happened.
It shouldn't have had to happen. I think it is. We should note that it shouldn't have had to happen. I mean, the fact that he's had to run, 5 times in 2 years?
1 million times.
1 million times in 2 years is a result of Jim Crow. You know, it was a decision that was made in 1964. The guy's name is Denmark Groover. I went in a deep wormhole on him today, who was a United States senator from Georgia who decided that they needed to have these runoff elections in order to prevent black voters from being able to decide elections. And they saw their block voting as inherently voter fraud, and therefore they needed to give a second shot. So, you know, the reality is Raphael Warnock already won this seat. The fact that he had to win it twice is a result of Georgia still retaining some aspects of Jim Crow, which they doubled down on with this new voter law that produced long lines. It didn't have to happen. A shortened period in order to do this. Instead of 9 weeks, they only had 4 weeks. They cut off the last weekend. Voting ended on Friday of last week. They didn't get that second weekend. They killed souls to the polls right before the election. Republicans in the state of Georgia have done everything. And Brian Kemp, you know, he may look good because of what he did with Donald Trump and resisting him, but Brian Kemp is one of the authors of the modern-day Jim Crow residue that has created because Republicans want to guarantee themselves these statewide elections. In this case, they were defied by a very multiracial coalition of voters who said no.
Signed that law behind closed doors in front of a picture of a plantation. If you needed any more visuals.
Correct.
This is a resounding victory for people of color, for Black Georgians, for a changing country, for one of the most... I spent some time with Reverend Warnock on the trail the last time he ran. A phenomenally disciplined candidate. I was with him the day the Raffensperger phone call leaked. And that's the time you could really just go after Donald Trump. Raphael Warnock did not choose to do that. He chose to talk about health care. He chose to talk about education. He is someone that has relentlessly focused on issues ranging from student loan debt to climate change, maternal mortality, really important issues in his tenure in the Senate, which, of course, has only been 2 years long.
We have a live shot here of Raphael Warnock's headquarters in Georgia, where, as they say, crowd goes wild. People reacting to the news that their candidate has been reelected to the U.S. Senate. You can just feel the energy through the screen.
The phones.
Right now, and everybody holding up their phones to capture the moment. You know, if somebody else next to you has their phone out, you probably don't need yours out. You can just get it from them later. I'm just saying, you could watch the event instead of instead of just watching it through your screen. But that's cool. That's cool. I mean, for the Democrats, this has a practical impact.
Yeah.
Having 51 senators is better than having 50 senators, particularly when some of your senators are named Sinema and Manchin,
Yes.
and you are trying to get stuff done. This says a lot about what is going to happen in 2024, because this says a lot about what Joe Biden and the Democratic Party are going to be able to do in terms of policy.
Yeah.
Joe Biden's going to be able to sign some laws. He's going to be able to sign some bills. They're going to be able to do stuff with legislation that they otherwise would not have been able to do with senators like those in the driver's seat and enjoying the spotlight as much as we saw.
Get judges.
And confirmed judges. That's what I was about to say. I mean, you've got now as a key voting issue, this is another seismic shift. When you look at those counties that are seismic shifts between 04 and now, the issue of the Supreme Court as a political deadweight for Republicans is a seismic shift. And Joe Biden will be able to run on the federal judges he confirms in the next 2 years.
And he's going to be able to confirm them much faster now, because he's been working with the Judiciary Committee, which is composed of equal number of both parties. Now the Judiciary Committee is going to have a majority of one on the Democratic side. That means procedurally they will get those confirmations out much faster. They'll get to the floor faster. They'll get through the floor faster. Legislation is going to be a much bigger challenge because there's always the Republican House of Representatives. But what they can pass in the Senate has changed dramatically.
And should we? No, I mean, this is effectively the end of Mitch McConnell's obstructive career. He's just, he was reelected a couple of years ago. I don't know how much longer he stays in the United States Senate, but effectively what he's been able to do to Joe Biden, what he did to President Obama, that ends now, at least for the next couple of years. He won't be able to do that anymore.
I want to tell you that we're going to try to do something that's going to fail here in just a moment. I'm going to try to go to Jason Johnson at Warnock headquarters, and I'm telling you that's going to fail, not because of any technical failure, but because there's no chance he's going to be able to hear me. So, Jason, just talk for a second. Just tell us, talk, say things. Go.
I think I can hear you.
Tell us about the room.
Couldn't hear for a second there.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So the music is popping. All I do is win. Everybody on Warnock team is extremely excited. I got to tell you guys, the feeling here isn't just elation. The people here actually feel like they saved the country. And one of the insiders I was talking to said, look, Raphael Warnock now has a 6-year term in the Senate. They think Georgia will be solidly blue by the time he has to run again. They think Georgia is the next Virginia. So this isn't just a victory today, it's a victory for the next 6 years.
Wow. Jason, can you talk to us about the moment people realized that he won and the reaction in the room?
Yes, it was ridiculous. It was amazing. I got to tell you, I was there when Obama got elected. I literally had an older woman come up to me and say, I wasn't this excited, or I haven't been this excited since 2008. I have never seen this level of enjoyment. And like I said, Rachel, all throughout the night, I was surprised at how optimistic the Democrats were. But I feel like everybody in this room feels like they accomplished something. And I got to tell you, by comparison, when I was going throughout the community today, even when I talked to Republicans, many of them said they didn't want to vote for Herschel Walker. But every Democrat said they were thrilled to vote for Raphael Warnock a second, third, or fourth time if necessary to get him back in the Senate.
Jason Johnson, thank you so much. It's great to have you there. Great to have you having those conversations. I know you can't hear me, so I'll just say bye-bye.